Well, good morning, guys and gals. Welcome back to the Texas Roadrunner channel. You know, sometimes you notice I get a little goofy and crazy on the channel, you know, to get a few laughs, right? Well, not today. Maybe towards the very end, but I have something serious to talk about when it comes to our infections that we could be susceptible to in our outdoor recreational activities. Now, if you've been keeping up with me in the channel, you know I'm a hospice nurse, and I do emergency work at night, and I'm on call and all of that. And so usually, you know, it's in the community, at the patient's home, or the nursing home, or sometimes at the hospital. And here's the hospital I used to work at, and this is a typical med-surg floor. A couple of rooms. We've all seen this in the hospital. And before that, I was in the ER. So, when we return, I have some stories to tell you. So, stay tuned. Welcome back. I'm going to divide this video into three parts. Yeah, three parts. First, some stories from the my ER days and also that on the med-surg floor. Then I'm going to talk about the types of infections, and it's going to be kind of graphic. I don't mean to gross you out. And then third, ways to protect yourself. So first, some stories. I have many stories, y'all, all kinds of stories, but I'm going to tell you three of them. And these three kind of hit home to me, really. It was tough dealing with it. First story was when I was working in the ER. This elderly gentleman who was very active in the outdoors, he was a hunter. He went out hunting. He came back. He got cellulitis. I'm going to tell you more about cellulitis in a little later. But it went sepsis on him. That means the infection got into his bloodstream and got all across his body, starting to mess up his brain, so his brain couldn't tell his heart to beat right, and his diaphragm and other chest muscles in his thorax to breathe, and most importantly, telling the cells in his body, hey, it's time to die. And he had to be intubated, but before that happened, the ER doctor knew he may not make it. So the ER doctor gathered his family in and said, this could be it, say your last goodbyes. And I tell you what, we had them all hooked up with all kinds of IVs, vancomycin, metronidazole, all kinds of stuff. I mean, we must have had 4 IVs in them, plus fluids. And then Life Flight came and flew him off to Memorial Hermann for a higher level of care. Unfortunately, by the time they got to Memorial Hermann, he had passed. So that kind of hit home with me. I think that was my first patient that I lost. And I was a new nurse at that point. But anyway, that's my first story. Second story hit home. This is another elderly person. This was a lady. She and her husband liked to fish out in the bays, local bays out here. And she got cellulitis. And from fishing in one of the bays, she wasn't wearing any waders. And I asked her, were you wearing any waders? She goes, no. And clearly she got lucky because she seeked medical attention just in time. Of course, we're shooting her up with all that vancomycin and metronidazole, all that really high levels antibiotics. And she almost had an amputation, but she did live through the experience. So that's one good story about it. So kind of remember these things. Next, this is a sad case. This is a middle-aged lady, and so her immune system, as you grow older, your immune system weakens, and that's kind of what happened to those first two people. Their immune systems just weren't all that strong. But this is a middle-aged lady, and somehow or another, she contracted Oh, the flesh-eating bacteria infection. And she started out in the ER, and then she came up on my floor, and I had to take care of her. But it was really confusing to the ER and to the floor doctor that was assigned to her, because everything pointed out cardiac. Then after my shift, she went down, and she wound up in surgery, and the surgeon discovered she had the flesh-eating bacterial disease and did everything he could to cut it all out of her. But it was too late. It went sepsis. And by the time I came back on my next shift, I was told what happened, and they weren't expecting her to live, even though we were still pumping her up with fluids and antibiotics. And she did pass away on my shift. So anyway, next I'm going to talk about the types of infections. The first one I want to talk about is... So let's discuss cellulitis first. Here's a few slides to show you what it looks like. Obviously these slides have been stained so you can view them easier. Now, coming up after these slides is the results of this bacteria. It's pretty nasty. Medical attention is needed promptly, or sepsis may set in, like the hunter who passed away. It's not always on your lower extremities, it can be on your hand too. Okay, the next infection I want to talk about is the Necrotizing Fasciitis, or Fasciitis. It's also known as the flesh-eating bacterial disease. So let's get more in depth, and again, some of these slides may be graphic. So guys, this is the really nasty stuff. I have some more slides that have been stained to show you what this bacterium looks like. These are more rod in shape as opposed to the staph, which is more cauci or round. And unfortunately, here is the results. These guys caught it just in time. Again, prompt medical attention is needed so sepsis may not set in, like the middle-aged lady that I spoke about earlier. Sometimes amputations may be needed. So we're back again. So what can we do to protect ourselves? Well, let's check out these next series of slides. So guys, research the area that you're going into and don't ignore these signs. And you know, there's other protection like these waders. They work out really great in protecting your skin. And if you don't like wearing a full set, wear these wading boots. You see, these ladies know how to fish, and they can look pretty sexy on a woman. Very sexy. So guys, in conclusion, kind of consider this as a public service announcement, a PSA. It was not my intention to scare anyone or gross anyone out with some of those images. Just want you guys and you gals to be safe out there. And so, until next time, y'all take care. I'm Francis Kiefel, and I approved this video.